Reforming physics teaching. How? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and greetings everyone. It is an honor to be here with all of you passionate educators who are shaping the future through physics. Today, we are going to discuss something vital, how we can reform the way we teach physics. Physics is often seen as a tough and abstract subject, but it holds the keys to understanding the world around us. Yet, physics teaching is often disconnected from students' real-world experience. In many cases, physics teaching heavily relies on textbook, and teachers are to prepare students for exams, especially national exam like SPM. In 2021, I was involved in a special program, Professional Development for Young Lecturers. I was going to a secondary school teaching the subject of physics for Form 4 students in Johor Bahru, Johor Darul Takzim. This was my story of teaching physics involving experience and practice, as well as theory and literature that I learned for teaching physics. As a newcomer to the school, I started a humble journey whereby I did not question the culture of the school and mainly followed the norms of education. I knew about the traditions of teacher-centered approaches and exam-oriented teaching practice. I noticed that traditions were just so strong. Thus, at that time, I did not intend to challenge the norms because I was just a newcomer for the school. My presence at the school confirmed with what I found from reading. Teachers prepare students for exams and regularly teach using teacher-centered approach, especially drill and practice. However, in May 2021, I started to rethink about my thought on norms of the education. I feel that I needed to do something differently because I started to get bored with the traditional approaches of teaching students, especially teacher-centered approaches. I created a Google form for my students to evaluate my teaching quality. The prime focuses were my personality as a teacher and the teaching approaches that I use for teaching physics. In terms of personality, I got relatively very high score, especially in having a caring personality. More than 85% students strongly agreed that I was a caring teacher. I had no surprise to the result because I knew I really care for their success in physics and I did my best to teach them. Yet, for the teaching approach, especially teacher explanations, I could see students started to have variations in thinking about my teaching approach. Based on the graphs, only 43.3% put the highest scale 4 to me, which is significantly different from item on caring personality, which is 85%. From this result, I thought that I needed to do something different in my physics teaching. Yet, at this time, I still had no idea on how to make the changes. Yet, a new opportunity came after that. In July 2021, the Johor State Education Department, or Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Johor, JPNJ, made a STEM competition. School students were invited to join the competition whereby they needed to invent a solar oven using low-cost materials. The STEM competition was conducted online, and students were to finish the project at home. From the STEM competition, I got an inspiration to integrate project-based learning, or PJBL, into my teaching. I made the project as part of the classroom-based assessment or pentaksiran bilik darjah PBD. In PBD, students were assessed using 6 levels of assessment named TP1 or Tahap Penguasaan 1 as the lowest, while TP6 as the highest. The projects by students would enable them to reach TP6 because the highest level requires students to make a creation in line with revised Bloom's taxonomy. This is the reason why I choose project-based learning. It is the most common pedagogy of STEM based on the global literature in STEM. Project-based learning would enable students to experience different learning styles and environment during their school time, especially because in many cases, they learn for the sake of passing the exams and tests. These are 6 elements of project-based learning in STEM by Markula and Axela 2022. They consist of objective, guiding question, scientific practice, use of technology, collaboration, and producing artifact. Teachers would need to ensure they have all these 6 elements if they are to practice project-based learning. These are 10 steps for implementing project-based learning. If you can see, it is a sequential step from one to another, even though it may not be simply linear. Usually, teachers can start with identifying project types, such as the scope of the project, like whether to allow students to invent a tool, produce foods, or doing something like research on current issues related to physics or STEM. Then, teachers can provide project proposal template to students to help them to know the key elements included in the proposal. Teachers should make students plan well before starting the project to ensure the students have clear idea on how to run the project. Then, students can submit their proposal to teacher for assessment. Teachers should provide feedback to students for them to make improvement or adjustment, such as lowering the cost of the project. After that, students can start implementing the project and need to report to teachers about their current progress. At the end of the process, students are to present their project to teachers and all of their friends. Students may also do video records for presentation to save time. Finally, the teacher assesses the project and gives a score to each of the students. This is how I made the project assessment. I put 6 criteria with different weightage. The highest marks were given to STEM conceptual mastery, whereby students needed to explain physics concepts that they apply in their project. This is to ensure they know how to apply the concepts and to make them aware that physics is really close to them and their lives. I also put a relatively high marks for originality or uniqueness because I wanted to educate them with innovations and creativity through the project. This is an example for product type for the kind of inventing a tool. In this example, a student invented a solar oven and she made records for the increase in the temperature in the solar oven. This is the calculation made by the students for the solar oven project. She provided a comparison between two materials she used and showed the calculation process for the amounts of heat in joule. For the second product type, some students choose to produce foods like cake or donut. They still need to apply physics concepts such as heat when putting the food in the oven. They also recorded the time for the food to be fully cooked. For some students, the food they produced, like the cake, was made as a gift, such as making the cake as the birthday present for their family members, like their father or mother. This is something made the parents less reluctant to support the project because they knew they got direct benefits from the physics project. I also sponsored RM 10 ringgit for each student to make the project. This project was not without challenges. First, the project must be feasible for students to carry out. In my case, one of the students did not complete the project because he cannot come up with a tool that he can really produce. Besides, school exams were also a big challenge. Few students showed less interest to do the project because for them, exams and tests were more important than the projects. Finally, because of the COVID-19 restriction during my teaching period at school, I cannot monitor very well on students' process of doing the project because they stay home during the pandemic. Thus, for most of time, I put a reasonable level of trust and give them a favor instead of scrutinizing what they actually did at home. Privacy matters. One particular success from this project of physics was when a student named Aisha, not the real name, now becomes a student at UTM in industrial physics in bachelor's degree program since October 2024. She actively involved in the physics project and also joined the STEM competition for inventing a solar oven in 2021. I was her project advisor for the STEM competition. She was active during her matriculation time. She continued to join the innovation competitions during the matriculation time and managed to produce a new product like a bin that equips with sensor to open the bin automatically. Before she made the choice to select universities and academic programs, she contacted me for some advice. I advised her to put physics as one of the 8 choices for academic programs, and she put as one of her choices. When the admission result came out by the Ministry of Higher Education, Aisha was offered to pursue her study at my university, UTM, in industrial physics. Aisha's case could be a success story created from the physics project that Aisha made since her school time. Aisha is now active in STEM programs at UTM and closely works with me to encourage school students to choose science stream for upper secondary education level. Thank you.